Hello, this is Mo and Lyndon. This is a game that we're working on. It's entitled Matchstick Girls. Today we'll be showing the demo for version 1.5. Just a little bit on the theme. It's about a matchstick factories in England during the 1800s. This particular factory is a Bryant and May factory and kind of shows the lead up to the 1888 Matchstick Girl strike. That was a general labor strike. But anyway, here's the rules, and Lyndon will go ahead and start explaining those.
Oh, okay. First, we're going to show how to set up the game from the ground up. If we look right here, we have a round card that tracks what round we're in. This game's played over 6 rounds. So we'll start the game off in round 1. And some of the information that's on here is between the rounds, there's an icon that reminds you to switch the start player. Uh, each round is associated with one of these columns, and it'll tell you a particular action, and we'll cover that in a minute. It'll also give you a budget for the round. You start each round with only that amount of money, and money does not carry over between rounds. Right below the budget is the requirement of orange cubes produced. Uh, that's one of the ways to lose the game. If you don't produce the required amount of matches in a round, you're out. And then there's just a reminder that all matches produced and all leftover money at the end of any given round turns into victory points. Oh, okay. Over here we have the action board. Each of those rounds we just mentioned is broken up into 6 actions. And what we do to set up this board is we take the stress type tokens, throw those in a bag, shake them up, and we put them out randomly, one for each column here across the top. And that'll tell us on any given action in the round what type of stress we're going to be dealing with. And we put 2 tokens out for each one. And these little lightning tokens are the actual stress tokens. And,
Quick note that the backside of this turn order, this turn sequence, shows the other opposite turn order.
um, as you can see here, there's a row for the green player and a row for the yellow player. And when we alternate those turns, we're just going to flip this card over. And you can see that it swaps which color is on top. So in this instance, the yellow player would be going first. And in this instance, the green player would be going first. And we'll just set it up as if the yellow player is going first. And I like to lock that down in TTS after you get it set so you don't accidentally move it around when we're grabbing all these tokens. Across the bottom here, you'll see 4 sections with these icons. These are associated neighborhood actions, and we'll cover those in a little bit. But that sets up the action turn. We'll move on to describe the player board and show you how to set that up. Player board across the top, that's your score. And we have a little token to track your score, and that'll start on 0. This section here is your strike threshold, that's the numbers, and your worker out of play area. And we'll start with a threshold of 5. Just below that is a higher area. You can get job applicants, and you'll store those there. Below that's the orphanage. And to set up the game, you'll put 2 gray workers there with 1 stress token of each color for each one. Below that, you'll see a chart. That'll show you how stress affects your workers during the game. On the bottom right corner, you'll show those stress effects will change the wages that your workers will be wanting, and that's all shown there. The main part of the player board, though, is these 4 sections that are color coded. Section A for planks, Section B for the white phosphorus, Section C for splints, and Section D for matches. And that's where your work will be done throughout the game. To start, you'll have a worker in each section on that little meeple icon. The tracks across each department shows how skilled the worker is. So as you go to the right, they become more skilled and can get more work done, but as you can see, the wages will also go up. And finally, you have this section here. Whenever you take deliveries of raw goods, you'll place them in the delivery area, and all other goods will go into storage, and that's just to hold those for you. Okay, we'll move over here to the neighborhood board. That's this board here. As you can see, the whole entire board is broken up into pairs of squares in any given color. So you have like white sections, you have green sections, and purple sections. And there on the left, where this green token is already, you can see the match factory. All players will start with one token in that match factory. And then to finish setup for the neighborhood board, these orange meeple worker icons all get a little meeple on them. And you'll see squares labeled B, C, and D. Those correspond to these tokens here. We have B tokens, C tokens, and D tokens. And to set them up, put all the B's in a bag, randomize them, and we'll place those on all the B's. We'll do that with the C's as well, the D's after that. And then we'll flip them all face up once we're done. And we'll just take a moment to get that taken care of. Oh, okay. Across the center of the play area, you'll see 6 cards. Each one is a different type of action. Players also have some bonus tokens. That's these here. And to start things off, we'll put all those in the bag. Like we said on the round board, each round has a specific designated action. What we're going to do is we're going to randomize those bonus tokens we put in the bag, and we're going to place one on our section on the bottom of the card for our player color. And we're going to do that for every action except the one that's designated by the round. It won't have any bonus tokens at all. That will leave a few bonus tokens left in your bag, and we'll just go ahead and leave those in there. Those will be the first ones put out in the following rounds. All right, I believe we're ready to begin play. What we do is we're going to take those 6 action turns, alternating between players, performing one action each. So on your turn, you'll designate one of these action cards as the action you're choosing. You can choose actions with no bonus tokens or with bonus tokens. The action itself will remain the same regardless, but what you get in addition to it may be different. And how you're going to have to deal with your stress for the round will be different depending on whether the action had bonus tokens or not. Okay, let's describe all the different actions and what they do first. Going from left to right, you have the brown action card. If you take that action, you're going to gain one of these wood cubes, and you're going to put that in your delivery area. Easy peasy. If you take the purple action card, that's going to do the same thing but with a purple cube, and you'll just put that into the delivery area. On the last 4 action cards, you'll see that the icons look the same, except they're just color-coded differently. All of these actions work the same way. If you take the red action, you'll notice this right pointing arrow, and that's going to move the meeple in that section 1 space to the right. Same thing for the green action card, the yellow and the orange action cards. All those actions just move your meeple 1 to the right on those skill tracks. Okay, if you choose an action that does not have bonus tokens on the bottom, after performing the action of the card, you're going to take the stress for this action turn off the stress and action turn board, and you're going to have to insert it into one of these departments. The stress goes into the little square areas first, and if there's already a stress there, then it will go into the ovals. If you take one of these actions here that is a specific department, then the resulting stress that you would have to take has to go into that department. So if I took the orange action, the stress would go into the orange department's stress boxes. However, let's say the wood action did not have any bonus tokens on it and I selected the wood action. After putting my cube in the delivery section, the stress for this action turn can go into any department because this wood action is not a specific department. Same for the chemical. If you took a chemical, the resulting stress can go into any department. Now let's talk about what happens if you select an action that does have bonus tokens on it. Let's say, for instance, I chose this red action here. You're going to perform the action on the card as normal, and then there's also actions depicted on these bonus tokens. You have to do both the card and your bonus token. Your opponent's bonus token will be discarded. So if this is the action I took, I would have to go right one on the red department. And as you can see here, that yellow token depicts the yellow department moving right times 2. So it's as if I took 2 yellow actions from the card. All the beginning bonus tokens work the exact same way as the action cards that share the icons. They all depict the department that you'll gain skills in, either 1, such as this one, or 2, such as the one I just described. So after having taken the action, you'll discard your bonus token after resolving it. Your opponent's bonus token was already discarded. This changes how you're going to resolve the stress for this action. Instead of placing it on your player board in a department, you are going to place it on your player colors section in one of these 4 actions here at the bottom of the action turn card, such as placing it there. Each one of these icons represents a different action in the neighborhood board. The one where I just placed the stress is the move your token in the neighborhood action. The way you resolve that is if you look closely at the neighborhood, you'll see tiny black arrows from the section that you are in, showing you which sections are also adjacent to where you're at. To perform the move, you'll choose one of these black arrows and you'll follow it until you hit a little receptacle for your token that matches the icon that gave you this action. You can only move one section over. So for instance, if I was already here in this purple neighborhood where I'm at now, I could choose to move up to here, or I could choose to move right to here, or I could choose to move down to here. Oh, okay, let's talk about the other kind of actions you can get. If you take this action instead that has the little meeple icon, that allows you to pick up a job applicant from the neighborhood and place it in your hire area. You look at the section that you are in, and if there's a meeple touching the border of your neighborhood, or if you're on the factory, the meeple that's touching the factory's area, you can take that meeple and you place that meeple into your hire area on your player board. We'll talk about how those function a little later, but that's how you acquire them. This icon here, if you take this action, that allows you to pick up these bonus tiles that are in the neighborhood. You can't do that from the factory. You can only do that from one of the color-coded neighborhoods. And when you take that action, you can take any of the tiles that are within your neighborhood. You simply pick it up, place it next to your player board, close by to the storage area, and you're going to flip it over. Now, before I flip it, the front side will depict an action on a bonus tile, and hopefully these bonus tiles eventually make it into your bag and out on these actions up here so that you can get them resolved. But before they're available, you have to flip them over to their matchbook side. And we'll cover how to get them unlocked, but just quickly, the number of matchbooks depicted on the back of the token is how many matches you have to produce in order to get this tile unlocked and start its cycle within your bag and performing actions. Okay, the final icon that you could choose to resolve stress shows a picture of the factory, and that allows you to move your token from the neighborhood board, regardless of where it is, back to the factory. So if you get caught on one side of the neighborhood and you don't want to walk all the way across, you can use one action to go back to the factory. Okay. So just to reiterate, if you take the action that does not have bonus tokens on the bottom, the stress you're taking for the round is going into a department. If you do take an action with the bonus token on it, the stress for your action round goes into one of these bottom sections and you perform an action in the neighborhood. Okay. Players will alternate choosing actions until both players have performed 6 actions. So that would have been my turn. Then the green player would do their actions, removing their stress, resolving it, until all players have performed those 6 actions. After that, the action phase is over. And once it's over, you'll know because all of these stress tokens will have been resolved, either into player boards or into actions down here on the bottom. And I'll just set up some examples that I'll hit in a moment. All that stress obviously wouldn't go to my player board. I use both players, but I want to teach all the possible outcomes. So, okay. Once actions are done, we go into the work phase. And let's say I acquired some purple cubes throughout our play. Let's say our little guys made it to this point in the tracks. Okay. So when we resolve the work phase, both players can resolve this phase simultaneously if they desire, or you can do it in any order you prefer. But the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take note of all the cubes that are in the delivery section. As you can see on the icons in that section, each cube is going to cost you $1 off your budget for the round. So if I took these 3 cubes, I would now lower my amount by 3. Once you do that, move all the cubes from delivery into your storage area. After that, you're going to perform each department's work. Across the top of each department, you'll see a shorthand summary of how work is performed there. And I'll describe that now. And you do this in alphabetical order. As you can see, the plank section is labeled A, white phosphorus is labeled B, C and D for the following 2. So in order to resolve the planks department, you'll take 1 and only 1, no matter how many you have, wood cubes. You'll discard that. And then you'll create a number of red cubes equal to this number in the little red hex below your worker. In this instance, B2. Okay. Then you'll go on to B, the white phosphorus department. This one works a little differently. You're going to swap out 1 for 1 all of your purples for a yellow cube, and you'll make a number of exchanges equal to the number in the little yellow hex below where your worker is. So in this instance, I can make up to 1 exchange. So out of my purple cubes, I will discard 1, exchanging it for a yellow white phosphorus cube. Now we'll move on to C, the splints department. This one works similarly as the red department. Regardless of how many red cubes you have, you're only going to discard 1. And that will turn into a number of green cubes equal to the hex below where your worker is. In this instance, 1. Finally, we'll make it to the orange matches department. And the way you resolve this is you will discard sets of 1 yellow cube and 1 green cube. And you'll exchange those for 1 orange cube. And the number in the orange hex below your worker tells you how many times you can make those exchanges. In this instance, I can make one exchange, so I can discard one yellow and one green cube together in order to make a maximum of one orange cube. Had I had more yellow or greens, they would simply stay in the storage until next round, just like this extra purple cube I had is going to stay there. Okay. After you perform the work for the matches department, you're finished doing the jobs of each department. So now the workers would like to get their paychecks. You're going to have to pay their wages. Okay. The wages that the default wages that they want is what they are standing on. You'll see the little amount of money. Let me remove this stress for a moment to show you the default way of paying them. If there's no stress in the department, or if there's any single stress in the square, you're going to pay them their default wages. And you can see that here in the wages section. A meeple standing on their square, you subtract your amount of money as to what they're standing on. So this guy would like to be paid $3, and I would pay that now off my money. Now, if there's any stress at all in the oval overflow area, you're going to have to check to see what type of event happens to that worker. This is based on majority across all the stress in the department. So in this instance, in the yellow department, I need to pay their wages, but I see that I have stress in the oval overflow area. Out of all the stress in the department, in the square and the oval, I see that the majority of this stress is blue. So I look on the bottom left of my player board. I see that this section here shows if I have majority blue, I'm going to have an accident, which is indicated by this icon here. In order to have an accident, or I'm sorry, if you look on the bottom right of the player board, you'll see that if you have a meeple laying down accident, you owe them half their wages. And this note here says to always round that amount down. So if I'm paying half wages to this person having an accident in the yellow department, that's 2, cut in half is 1, so I owe them $1. Moving on to the C department, I see that I only have a single stress in the square, none in the oval, so that means I owe them full wages, which would be 1. Moving on to the D department, I see that I do have stress in the oval, so I have a stress effect. The majority of the stress in this department is red. Therefore, I look over here. And this icon here means that person is going to quit. If the person quits, I look on the bottom right. I see the same icon, and I see that I owe them no money. So I pay nothing. Okay, now we're going to go through each department again, and we're going to resolve the effects on the worker of that stress now that we've paid all their wages. In A, I remove from the example any stress, so they stay just like they are. In B, we had that accident. To resolve an accident, you're going to lay the meeple over on its side to indicate that it's had an accident. After you resolve the stress effects, remove all stress from the department. If it just had, in C, you'll see that it's just a single stress, that there's no effect, so we'll just remove that stress. In D, we have to resolve that quit. In order, or for the meeple to quit, you pick them up and you place them in this out of play area. Remove all their stress from their department. Okay, let's talk about, let's take one moment to discuss how you might lose this game. If making any of those payments for your deliveries or paying their wages, you needed to pay money that you did not have, you are bankrupt and eliminated from the game. If the number of meeples in this out of play area ever equals or exceeds the number indicated by your strike threshold, all of your workers go on general strike, you lose and are out of the game. And the final way is the match requirements, which I'll get to in just a moment. So after resolving what happens from the accumulated stress, any workers still in their departments are going to lower their skill by 1 amount to a minimum of 1. So in this B department, I don't lower them. Same for the C department. Now we're going to score our points for the round. The first thing we're going to do is see if we made the required number of matches. So I see in my storage that I made 1 match this round. And I'll look at the round board, and I see that the requirement for the round is 1 match. So I'm okay. If you ever don't produce in a round the number of matches required by the round, you are then eliminated and are out of the game. So after I make my check to see if I made the right amount, I'm now going to score them. And as you can see on the bottom of the round board, you score 1 point for every match you produced and 1 point for every leftover dollar you have in your budget. So that's 1 point for my orange cube and 2 more points for what's left on my calculator. So that's 3 points altogether. I then clear out my calculator. Now, I have to apply my matches first to any match books over here. And if I had more matches or no match books, simply discard your matches. But since I did have a match book, I'll put it there. Anytime you fill up all match books on one of these bonus tokens, you can discard the matches off of them, flip the token over, and put it in your discard pile of used bonus tokens. Finally, in any departments that have no workers in them now, you need to place 1 worker from your hire area into that department on the little meeple icon. Level 0 skill, in other words. Let's say I did not acquire that meeple from the neighborhood, and I get to this point in the game and I need to hire someone for a department and I have no one in my hire area. I'm going to have to visit the orphanage and hire one of these little gray workers. When you have to hire little gray workers, that's going to trigger a few things. First, put the gray worker in the department that needs the worker. Then, as you can see across these icons here, you're going to get 1 stress token of each color, and you're going to have to apply that to 1 single department in your company. For instance, if I applied it to the green department, I'm going to start my next round with these 2 stress already there. Also, you can see this icon that says -1 to your strike threshold. Hiring the gray worker also lowers your strike threshold by 1. This could also cause you to lose the game if you already had a number of meeples in the out of play area that is now equal to your new strike threshold. One final thing to take note of is this stress effect here at the bottom of the board in the lower left corner. When you resolve the stress effects to see what happens to your worker, if there is stress in the overflow oval, but there's no clear majority across the entire department, such as it is in C now, when you get to the phase where you check to see what happens to your worker from stress, that's going to cause a death if there's no majority in the colors. Also, you can see down here, if a worker that's already laying down due to a previous accident suffers a second accident, that also causes a death. The way you resolve a death is similar to the way you resolved that person quitting their job. You're going to put the meeple in the out of play area, but since you had a death, not only do you not owe that person wages when it was time to pay them, you're also going to lower your strike threshold by 1 in the case of fatalities. And if you would like to track the workers in your out of play area to see which ones quit or which ones had a fatality, you can also lay down the ones that had fatalities and keep standing the ones that just quit due to red stress. Oh, okay. Once both players have performed all their work, paid their wages, resolved stress effects, and resolved their matches for points and bonus tokens, you'll be ready to play the next round. In order to set up for the new round, what you're going to do is clear off any tokens still left here and re-randomize those as we did during setup. We'll clear off any of these stress tokens here on the action board. We'll flip it over to indicate that there's a new start player, and we'll set those up exactly as we did at the beginning of the game. We'll advance the round marker, Again, there's an icon to remind you to flip over that action board in case you forgot. You'll see that there's a new action that won't get bonus tokens. If for any reason there is bonus tokens still left on action cards, they say they weren't all taken, you're going to put all of yours in your discard pile. All of your opponents go in their discard pile. You'll randomize the bonus tokens that were still left in your bag if you have any left in your bag from the previous round, and those will go out just like during setup first. Taking note not to put any on the action indicated for this round. If your bag ever runs out of tokens and you need to place more, simply put your discards back in your bag, shake it up, and continue placing tokens. So you should be all set up for the next round. Okay, that should get you caught up on how to play. We just need to cover the bonus tokens you can acquire from the neighborhoods are look different than your default base ones. And very quickly, we can tell you how to resolve these. The ones that depict resources, either purple or brown, all resolve in the same way. You'll take the depicted number of resources and place them into your deliveries. For instance, if you have this one that shows 3 purples, you'll just take 3 purple cubes, place all 3 into your deliveries. Be careful though, you'll have to pay for those deliveries as normal when it comes time to perform work. That leaves the tokens that all depict skill actions. These work the same way as the ones we already know how to work. So for instance, if I'm resolving this tile here, that would give me 1 green move to the right in the green department and 2 meeple moves to the right in the red department, in addition to whatever I took on the normal action card as always. We have 2 tiles that feature points whenever they get resolved. If you resolve those tokens, just gain that number of points. And we have this token that when it is resolved, you score $3 go into your budget for the round. Simply raise it up on your calculator when resolving that one. You'll note that all the B tokens will end up having only 1 matchbook on the back. The C tokens have 2 matchbooks on the back, and the D tokens have 3. If you're trying to fill up those matchbooks and the matches you make for the round aren't enough to fill up all the matchbooks, the token will simply stay next to your player board until you make enough matches to finally fill it up. Okay, that should be everything you need to know to play the game.
I've got a quick question for you.
Go ahead.
If you reach the end of your the worker skill, so let's say in planks you make it all the way to the end of the track, and you were to take an action that would force you to go past the track, how do you resolve that?
Oh, okay. Let's say my red meeple was here, and I need to resolve this token that gives me 2 more moves. I would simply discard the thing with no effect. I'm also still free to take this red card's action. When I'm at the max of here, I would resolve the red card with no effect, and then I would resolve my bonus token the way I normally would.
Okay, and the next question would be if we are both playing the game and if you lose the game because you run out of budget in the middle of paying for wages and you get to splint and then you run out of budget and you're out of the game, but I run out of budget in matches.
Then we both lose. If for any reason you're eliminated, your opponent has to survive till the end of the round if they want to win. If we're both eliminated, then we both lost the game. That was my understanding of it.
And yes, that's correct. And I guess the next note that I'm going to talk about is a theme note, is that you're playing middle management. You're not the owner of the factory. That's the reason for your budgets. and trying to make it a week and become the best manager you possibly can for that week. I guess we're ready for the solo play rules.
Oh, one quick note. Uh, when we went to round 2 and we set up for the round, I did forget to set my new calculator number to what the new budget is. And both players would do that. All leftover money had turned into points, and you'll start the new round with the depicted number of money. I think that covers everything. We can go to solo play rules now if you'd like. Okay, we're going to cover the solo rules. We've already got the board pre-set up as if it was for multiplayer, so I'll show you the differences for the solo setup. That's super easy. The player will always be the yellow, and the AI bot will be the green player. So anytime you have this, you set up the action board, you're going to remove all the stress for the AI player, and you're going to replace that with green dice. And it doesn't matter what numbers they're on right now. We'll just put 1 dice per action turn. The player will play their game just like normal. And when it comes time to resolve the green player's turn, instead of taking a turn, you're going to take their dice off the stress board and give it a little roll. Mo's going to set up my bonus tokens right quick because I forgot. You don't set up the green player's bonus tokens. Oh, okay. So when the green player takes their turn, you take the die off their stress section, give it a roll, and then you count from left to right across the action cards, the number depicted on the die. There's 6 action cards for 6 die faces. I rolled a 3, so I'll count 1, 2, 3. It's this red action here. And I'm going to place the die there in that little corner spot. As you can see, there's 2 corner spots for dice. First one goes on the left, second one goes on the right. Whenever you place the die in its spot, if there's any bonus tokens still left to resolve for you, the player, that's going to get discarded, as if in the multiplayer game, your opponent chose the action. If the green player goes again, and let's say they end up rolling another 3, you'll simply place the die in the second spot. When the die goes into the second spot, you're going to have to deal with the neighborhood board. You'll take 1 green die and 1 yellow die, and you can see along the edges of the board, the black section here pertains to the bonus tiles, as shown by that little square there. And the brown section pertains to the meeples, as shown by that little orange guy there. So we're going to make 2 sets of rolls. The first roll is for the black section, and we're going to match up the dice. I rolled 3 on yellow, and I rolled 6 on green. And I would cross-reference those 2, and if I hit a tile, I'll remove that tile. Since I rolled a green 6, there's not a green 6, I would not remove anything. But let's say I rolled a 4 instead. I put the 4 here. I see where those 2 row and column meet. It shows this tile. That tile gets discarded out of the neighborhood. So after you make your roll and resolve any effects for the bonus tiles, you'll make another roll, this time for the meeples. The yellow die is here across the bottom. 1s and 2s go here. 3s and 4s go here. As you can see, each one is tied to a column that has meeples in it. If you roll over 4, you're not going to be removing anything. Then we'll resolve the green die. It goes on the right-hand side here. Again, a 6 doesn't depict anything, so if that was my roll, I wouldn't remove anything. But let's say if it was a 2 instead, I would see that there's a 2 here. I would cross-reference these 2 and see that there's no meeple right there. So I would not remove anything. But if you do hit a meeple, say it was 3, then you remove the meeple, just like whenever you hit one of the bonus tiles. That's all there is to it for playing the AI. The dice exist to remove your bonus tiles off before you have a chance to use them, and possibly remove things from the neighborhood before you can get to them. One last thing. If you roll a number, like say I rolled a 3, and I see that both of these receptacles are already full, if they're both full, you just keep rolling until you hit a number that is not full and add that. That's all there is to it. Try to survive to the end of the game, and if you do that, try to get the most points as you can. I think that covers everything, man.
Yeah, that covers everything.
Cool. Well, we'll catch you guys next time.